Welcome to the Can Innovate podcast, the first ever podcast designed to showcase Canadian thought leadership. These innovators share industry insights, entrepreneurial best practices, lessons learned, and other tips that we can incorporate right into our lives, our careers, and our businesses. So let's get inspired. Hey innovators, we are really lucky today. We've got Casey Binkley, who is the founder and CEO of HaulerAds, a truck side advertising marketplace data fueled by Wi-Fi and GPS performance analytics. They actually launched in Canada and are already expanding into the USA. And Casey previously built a global manufacturing business to 2.5 million ARR and recently was selected as the Canadian Delegate to the 2018 G20 Summit in Buenos Aires. Wow, what an impressive bio. Welcome, Casey.
Thanks, Sapna. Awesome to be here. Super excited.
This is amazing. So tell me, how did you come up with this idea for HaulerAds?
Oh, well, this is going to be a bit of a tale here, but I'll dive right into it. So it kind of starts with my background a little bit. I've been a serial entrepreneur for many moons at this point. My last business, I was in the manufacturing space. So we actually manufactured plastic homebrew equipment for people to make beer and wine at home. So we did the majority of our manufacturing in Michigan, and some of our components came from China. And we basically, over the course of about 3.5 years, the products are distributed in roughly about 1,400 retail stores across about 45 countries. So fantastic venture. Had a ton of fun with it. The homebrew space is amazing. The people that are in it, as you can imagine, like to have a good time, to say the least. But I was kind of looking for a new opportunity. The main reason, like the homebrew market's fairly small. There's only about 5 million people in the whole world that homebrew. So there's a couple million in North America, and then a couple million in Europe, and then kind of a few Australia, New Zealand, Russia. But yeah, I was just kind of starting to think about what I was going to do next. And yeah, we were actually driving back from Michigan this one day. I can literally picture it in my mind. It's about 8 p.m. at night. It's summertime, a little dusky out. We're on the highway, kind of like thinking about things. What am I going to... And I had this truck drive by with no ad on it. And then I had another truck with an ad. And then I had another blank truck. And I just thought, wow, why is there so many blank trucks out there? They're obviously very powerful because I'm noticing them. I'm remembering them. But there's just so much blank space out there. So I came back, started doing some research into it. I found that there's only about a half dozen companies in all of North America that do this truck side advertising. Nobody's really expanded into the vision that I see it going. And the main reason I started talking to advertisers about it, it really came down to the performance analytics on it. People want to know where the trucks are, how many people see them, where it all goes. So like that was kind of my first step. Is I went out, I found an awesome tech team, and we started developing our patent pending technology right now. Should I kind of dive into that right now and tell you what it is, or do you want to wait a little bit? Or?
No, I'm curious. You've got my attention, so please tell me more.
Cool. So yeah, we make this proprietary device. It goes on each truck. It's a GPS, so we know where they go. But the cool thing we do is impression data through Wi-Fi scanning. So basically, everybody leaves their Wi-Fi on their cell phones. Well, I certainly do. It's just on all the time. Don't even think about it. Basically, when people are on the street or the sidewalk and the truck drives past, we pick them up as a unique impression. We get a unique identifier, the time of day, and location where we picked it up. On average, the trucks get around 2 million impressions per month per truck, and then we can target them on a regional basis for advertisers. So that's kind of our big differentiator, and the big value add to our customers is we have all this tracking analytics that it's all real time, super accurate, and yeah, people really love it. We've had some terrific campaigns, and awesome customer quotes. So yeah, super fun.
Yeah, I saw that on your website that you got quite a few big name companies that are really gravitating towards this. Does that mean that the advertising model is changing the way, because I see billboards everywhere. So is this kind of showing us a better traction with this type of activity versus, standalone billboards?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of advantages that kind of moving billboards or moving advertising has compared to static advertising. So a lot of the time, like static, it's stuck in one place. So, and a lot of the time that's good for a lot of different campaigns and whatnot. But a lot of times brands are looking for kind of more broader exposure. So having trucks that move around is terrific. I think the biggest thing that I really get interested in and excited in is the recall rate. So there's a stat by, I believe it's the American Outdoor Advertising Association, that moving outdoor advertising has a 2 times higher retention rate than static outdoor. And it's really just comes down to how your brain processes stuff that's moving compared to stuff that's just sitting there on the side of the road kind of stagnant. And I think the biggest thing that jumps out at me, we had a meeting with a huge media buyer here in Toronto, and they do a ton of the planning for Bed Bath & Beyond, McDonald's, ton of huge brands. And one of the main planners on the team, she's been in the space for pretty much ever. Like, she worked at Pattison for a while, one of the big billboard companies in Canada. She's been buying out a home. And we were going through our deck, and we did a campaign last summer for a company called DeGardi Tax Brokers here in Toronto. And it was a terrific campaign. It was on 3 trucks for 16 weeks, so 4 months. And it was live kind of in June, July, August, part of September. We were in seeing this group in about October, and we got through our slide deck, and it came up, and it was like, hey, here's the DeGardi campaign. And this head planner, she could remember seeing the campaign live in person. And she's somebody that's like been in the space forever. So I thought that was extremely cool that like this person that's so submerged in the industry could remember this campaign that hadn't, she probably saw 3 months prior, and she's seen so much other stuff that, yeah, I thought that was extremely cool.
No, it's great, because I'm just thinking about it too. Like when I'm driving and just driving in general, I get bored of looking at just different things. So you do want some level of entertainment. So it could be a lot of fun to be able to see these different types of activities that are running around the different areas on the different highways.
Yeah, bingo. And I think that's something that we're really working on and working with our clients and customers on, is to bring kind of these really cool creative ideas onto truck side. It's pretty big thing in Europe, actually. There's tons of kind of truck side advertising. I know a lot of things are kind of like that in Europe, where they're a little bit ahead of North America on some things. The big thing that they do over there is tons of 3D ads. So they have these like really wacky, cool designs that like it makes it look like there's like a furniture set up in the house, or maybe like there's a whole bunch of cars inside the truck. But they do these kind of 3D graphics, and it can really jump out. So I'm really excited to start running some campaigns like that coming up, and probably going to do a couple ourselves actually. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Oh, I'm excited, because then it's kind of like Harry Potter on the road. It's very magical. That's just kind of pops out at you.
Exactly. Just something that you're not expecting to see on a transport truck. A lot of the times it's like, a company's logo, or it's that big Coca-Cola truck that you can't forget. But a lot of times it's kind of older, stagnant creative, where I think because some of our stuff is so short term that we can kind of bring more life to it and really make the canvases speak to people that see them. So yeah.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
That's true. They are like the Coca-Cola and all those trucks. They really are familiar. So you see it, you're like, you don't pay attention to it. But you're right. If you got something else that's a bit more eye-catching, that's you're like, what is that? And that level of excitement that would create a lot more awareness.
Yeah, bingo. So yeah, that's what we're starting to work on with some of our upcoming campaigns. So I'm excited to get a few of those running and really kind of get the buzz going.
That's amazing. So how did you really get this off the ground? You mentioned you've had this idea, then you kind of got, you get this tech team to help you build all these different things. And did you do like a pilot with a couple of clients, or, you already had leads that or you were already generating? Like, how did it all just kind of happen so you were able to scale so fast?
Yeah, so it's always, at this point, when you look back at it, it seems like such small steps, but back then I know it was big steps. So, it kind of came up. First was kind of like the idea formation. I'm a big person that likes sitting down and kind of putting a pen to paper and really starting to thumb it out. I had a professor in university that really, kind of drilled that into my head, that it was like important to kind of sit down and really think about things and flush it out. And I know not everybody does that. Some people just kind of come up with an idea and they go out and they really push it. But for me, I like kind of sitting down, really strategizing about it. I think that when you do that, you can kind of have some better efficiencies and quicker, less learning curves when you kind of spent a few weeks or even a month kind of doing more of an upfront planning session. So that was kind of step one for me, is like really sit down, flush out the business, decide what I wanted to do, what I wanted to focus on. I knew that tech was going to be an area. I'm not a huge tech guy to begin with, so I knew that I needed some tech help. So kind of first step for me was to go identify an awesome set of developers and kind of make our first iteration of the devices. So it was a full build. It was the back end, it was the front end, and then it was even the hardware component to it all. So there's a lot going on, and a lot of companies just kind of have a website hosted on there, and like we have a ton of data that comes in because we're logging all this device stuff and locations and times and all that, and then you got to have the data kind of displayed on the site properly. And then we I guess our biggest thing that I learned is I went out and I tried to kind of look for people that were doing what we were doing, or made kind of technology that would work for our application. And after months of research and trying hopeless without any success, we finally decided that it was best that we try to kind of make this in-house. So we've gone head over heels into the hardware sector now, which is super fun and very exciting. We kind of made our first iteration of devices and launched those onto some trucks. We made some great partners. We started in Toronto, so made some terrific partners right off the get-go that we've been working with for quite a few years now. Started to kind of grow the network across Canada. Now, like you'd mentioned before, a bit into the U.S. That's our next big zone. Kind of first step was kind of doing the tech, and then we started to partner with our trucking companies. And at that point, I'd kind of been doing HaulerAds part-time in this kind of setup phase. And we got it to a point where the tech was looking good, and we had kind of some good partnerships in place. And then it was kind of time to go out and sell it. And me and my last partner at Fast Brewing, we just made a arrangement where I got a nice little buyout of that business. So it gave me a little bit of cash in my pocket to take me on to this next one, and left him with a great opportunity there. And I've been full-time on the project for about a year, just almost a year and a half at this point. It's been terrific. We've been selling campaigns, like you said. We landed some local ones to start with. One of our very first customers was Ryerson University. They're like one of the biggest universities in Toronto here. So we landed a terrific summer campaign with them. It actually happened super quick. Somehow I can't remember where the connection point was, but we made a connection with their marketing manager, and it turned out that they were looking for some unique kind of outdoor advertising opportunities, and they were looking for exposure in two markets. So the kind of like suburbs in Toronto here. One was Etobicoke, and one was called Scarborough. And they were having a hard time kind of finding any inventory that was cool. So we went out to our network, found trucks that stick in these kind of two regions, Etobicoke, Scarborough, executed the campaign. It turned out that one of the trucks actually parked right on Lakeshore. It's like one of the main roads in Etobicoke. So when the truck wasn't actually out being driven around, we had it so the driver kind of parked it right on the road, so it actually turned into like a static billboard on the weekends or evenings. So everybody was super excited. The creative went up really good, and the campaign was awesome. So that was kind of off to the races once we got our first big name up. It was terrific.
Wow, that's amazing. Actually, I didn't even consider that. So if you don't have a truck or any kind of trucking business, you'd be able to match different people based on those locations of what they're looking to actually target. That's really cool.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like, I guess, that's the biggest thing that I've started to find is there's like so many brands out there, not even just like small brands, but even like huge brands like Amazon. Like, they don't even necessarily have their own fleet of trucks. Like, a lot of the time they're using third-party delivery trucks. So we can kind of give these companies the opportunity to make it look like, hey, we've got a big fleet of trucks out there and we're driving around, we're killing it, we're doing all these deliveries, and yeah, we can kind of make that happen. Because like the cost, when you start doing the costing out for a company, even to put a single truck on the road, like by the time you lease the truck for $20,000 or $30,000, and then you do maintenance on it, and then the price of gas at this point, you got insurance, and then you're like a driver's salary of say $50K a year, like you're going to do a single truck for well over $100,000 a year. So most companies will, kind of outsource their deliveries, and then it's, they don't have the ability to have their brand presence out there making it look like they're doing. So we can brand a set of 10 or 15 trucks for the cost that it could for a single truck for them. So yeah, it's a pretty cool opportunity.
Oh, I can't wait. I am so excited. I'm really excited to see the 3D stuff. That's what I'll be like, when I see one of those trucks, I'll be like, I know who did it. It created that experience. That's just going to be so fun. So I didn't realize you're such a serial entrepreneur. So you must have some kind of cool lessons that you've learned either in your past life or past ventures or this venture. Is there something that you could share with us?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing for me, or a few big things I'll kind of touch on is, one is like when you have an idea or whatnot, like it's so important that you get out there and you just talk to everybody that you possibly can about it. I find that a lot of people, and I know it's not quite like it was a few years ago, but a lot of people, they just don't want to share their idea. They think they have this like super cool idea and like somebody's going to hear about it and they're going to steal their idea and like run away with it. And it's like the chances of that ever happening are so slim. It's just like, I've never heard of that happening. I've been doing this stuff for like 15 years. I've never heard of somebody telling somebody their idea and then all of a sudden 2 months down the road that other person's doing it. So I feel like a lot of kind of people keep their ideas like nestled away. They don't actually kind of put them out there. But when you do put them out there, you actually find out, hey, maybe you got a bit of a shitty idea, like maybe you shouldn't do it because nobody thinks it's good. You're the only person that thinks it's good. I find that a lot of businesses will kind of really invest. People will put a bunch of time, money, effort into stuff, and then it really turns out that their idea isn't that great and it goes nowhere and they just can't figure it out. So I think kind of shopping your idea around and really getting as much input, and especially from people that are in the industry or have done it before. Like even when I started HaulerAds, I know that there's been guys out there that have tried to make these truck side advertising networks and like tons of people have failed doing it. But I mean, the main reason I found was all this tech and data. So like I kind of try to take as many of their past learnings so that I'm not repeating them and, hopefully fast tracking the success is the big thing. So that would be my first one. The other big one I find, I love CRM systems. And maybe it's because I'm a sales guy at heart. Actually, my father owns a car dealership in British Columbia, so I grew up in a car sales family, so that's where my sales passion definitely comes from. But I've even done door-to-door sales. I enjoy like the whole process of it. But I find like a lot of times it's really just comes down to how consistent you are and how persistent you are. And like that's been like probably one of our biggest things that we're seeing at HaulerAds is like it's rare that you call somebody up and like, yeah, all of a sudden they just want to do a mobile billboard campaign because typically the costs are fairly substantial. Like I can't do a campaign for $1,000 or $5,000 or, like we're talking tens of thousands of dollars before we can do something meaningful for you. So like somebody's not going to just all of a sudden, although once in a while it happens. Like Ryerson was really quick, but we've had other ones that are like 8 or 9 month sales process. And if somebody says, hey, the budgeting, somebody told me, like I contacted them in the spring. They were like, oh no, we don't do our budgeting till August. So boom, mark it in my calendar, my CRM calendar, follow up in August. They like it. They want to get a proposal in September. Now we kind of go back and forth on proposal stuff. Kind of end of October, we sign off on it, finalize it, and then all of a sudden the campaign goes live like January. So like, but if you miss these touch points in there and you're not consistent and you're not persistent with people, you're not going to get the success that you can. A lot of people think, hey, I sent an email out to that person and they didn't get back to me. Well, like, geez, I sent people like 4 or 5 emails and like before, they might not get back to me either, but that doesn't mean I'm not just going to leave them alone or whatnot. And there's some awesome systems out there. I'm a big proponent of, this sounds like a sales plug for HubSpot, but I'm a big proponent of them. It works so good. They have these email trackers. I can send somebody an email. I can see how many times they've opened it, when they've opened it, how many times they've downloaded stuff, what links they've checked out. So like if somebody says like, they're not getting back to me, but I see they keep opening my email. Like they're obviously engaged. They like it. So like, I know I can spend more time on that person trying to follow up and get in touch. Some people, the email's never open. So maybe you're getting the wrong email address or something like that. So I think that kind of stuff is like super important for success in the long run.
No, those are amazing. Like I love that. Temperature checks early on and follow up on your leads with consistency and persistency. I don't even know if persistency is a word, but persistence. That's amazing. Okay, but you're right. I can imagine how many people don't follow up on any of those things. It's just kind of, oh, I forgot. And this is cool that you've got a scheduling tool that allows you to keep on top of things. So that is amazing. Yeah. Is there any other advice you'd provide to our aspiring or budding innovators out there?
I don't know. I'd also just say get out there and do it, A lot of people, in my opinion, I've got tons of friends that are like, hey, I got this cool idea, and like, what do you think? And we talk about it, and it probably would work, and it sounds cool, but, people just don't necessarily do it. So, and I know that entrepreneurship isn't for everybody, and not everybody wants to work, say, 12 and 14-hour days on stuff that maybe isn't the funnest, but there's a long, big end goal at the end of it. So I just, I find that if somebody's like worried about, should I do it, should I not do it, it's better to try it. Like I've had a bunch that I've shut down and totally failed at and like had to pay some debt off and stuff because it didn't work out. But like I have learned a ton of stuff from these kind of failures compared to, and then I can take those learnings and apply it to like my future businesses that I'm working on right now. And like now I do stuff totally differently than I did on stuff that I was doing like 10 years ago. Like it's night and day difference. So I feel like people should just get out there and try it because you never know. You could be an amazing entrepreneur yourself.
Oh, that's great advice. So out of curiosity, do you have any kind of key business philosophies or favorite quotes? Because you seem like you're juggling a lot. It's like, how do you keep that momentum going as you're putting in the 14, 16-hour days?
Yeah, I think a big thing is I try to get some activity in the mornings. I try to rip a quick gym sesh kind of first thing, like 7 a.m. When I'm at the gym, that's my kind of time to listen to podcasts and stuff like that. Pretty big listener of dear old Tony Robbins, and I like Gary Vaynerchuk as well. Those are kind of my two go-tos. Gary's just like so good at marketing and stuff like that, and then Tony, he'll just light a fire under anybody's ass to make it happen. So those would be my two go-tos.
Oh no, I'm with you. That is amazing. I like how they're just very clear to the point, very succinct. They just get on it. Is there kind of a popular productivity tool that you use?
We use a few at the office. I'm definitely like our team's on Slack for sure. We use Trello for a lot of our kind of task management. HubSpot's a big one that we're on, and then like all this kind of Google Docs and stuff. Those would be our kind of main systems for that kind of stuff.
Very, very, very cool. And finally, when you do get downtime and you get to go and enjoy, long weekends and stuff, is there kind of like a favorite, Canadian hotspot, restaurant, hideaway, city, festival?
Yeah, it kind of depends where I am. Like right now I'm in Toronto and it's summertime, so it's amazing to get outside in your shorts and stuff like that. I got into watching the Wolfpack a little bit. I used to play rugby as a kid, just for a couple years in high school, and man, going and watching the new rugby team in Toronto, they're huge dudes and they hit each other very hard. But then there's like a ton of, I can't pronounce that word. It's like camaraderie between the players. Like they'll hit somebody as hard as they can, and then the other guy, like, he helps them up off the field. So it's like it's kind of cool to watch that. So I like that. And then I am originally from BC, so when I'm home in the wintertime, I love skiing. I grew up as a competitive ski racer, so if there was one sport I could say I'm okay at, I can ski decently. I'll say that.
When you're at a competitor level, I don't think you could say you ski okay.
Yeah.
Or adequately. I think you're probably above the norm.
When I was from about 10 until 16 or so, I skied about 150 days a year, every year. We'd start skiing. They would open the hills early for us for race training, so we'd be skiing by start of October, and then we'd ski straight for like 6 months or whatnot, and sometimes I'd do summer camps and ski like on a glacier somewhere. So yeah, I've skied a little bit.
A little bit. I'm still the girl that when I go down a hill, I'm still yelling long S's to keep me going so I don't fall on my butt.
I'll tell you what, if you put me on a snowboard, that's what I'd be doing, because I can't snowboard with a damn. I'm a true two-planker.
Oh boy, I can only imagine.
Yeah. And then the other one that I enjoy in the summertime is I enjoy playing golf. Golf is an awesome sport, and I was really thankful. My grandparents got me into golf as a young kid. My immediate, like, my mom and dad don't golf a ton. They've started to recently, but not as a kid. But it was my grandparents that got me into it. And like, man, is it nice being able to, like, I'm not a great golfer, but I can swing and make a few good shots here and there. But like being able to kind of go out in a business setting and like be able to like kind of know what you're doing out there a little bit, and like I'm not winning the rounds, but I'm not necessarily duffing shots all over the place. It's nice to kind of have that for a business sense. It's funny we're talking about it. I'm actually playing in a industry golf tournament all day tomorrow, so tough day ahead. Gosh.
Especially with this beautiful weather, eh? It is really going to be tough.
Man, tough life. Gosh. Entrepreneurship, cheapers, creepers.
It's all about networking. This has been brilliant, Casey. So seriously, how can our listeners connect with you if they want to find out more or try one of these billboards, especially the 3D ones?
Yeah, so I'd love to connect with everybody, anybody, anything. Anybody wants some advice, chat about marketing, entrepreneurship, happy to help. There's been a lot of people that have kind of reached out to me over the years, or I've reached out to and have generously gave me their time. So I definitely think that that's an important part. So if anybody just wants to connect in general, I'm more than happy. Website's great, HaulerAds.com. My direct personal email is Casey@HaulerAds.com. Email's typically the best, and then we can set up a phone call or something like that. And yeah, I'm typically in Toronto, but I kind of bounce around a little bit. I've been starting to hang out in New York now. Typically there about 1 week a month, and then been in San Francisco a little bit lately too. So if anybody's local in those markets, I do get there occasionally and would love to meet in person.
Excellent. Well, I'll put that all into the show notes so everyone doesn't have to look too far. They just click and open and they're with you and connected.
Sounds amazing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Casey, for your time. There were so much value bombs that you dropped. It's brilliant beyond belief.
Well, I love getting involved, and this kind of stuff is awesome for everybody. So keep it up. I think you're doing an amazing job running the show, and all the great listeners out there. You guys keep killing it, and get out there and just, as they say, as Nike says, just do it. Make it happen.
Love it. Love it.
Thanks again for joining us this week. It's been a blast as usual. Next week, we've got a really interesting guest. Here's a quick sneak peek.
We have had almost 100,000 new residents arrive in our city every year for quite a few years in a row. So think about a business that has to accommodate 100,000 new customers a year. I mean, that would be a massive challenge for any business. And we operate in maybe 100 different businesses. I mean, we're in everything from long-term care to child services to waste management to providing clean water. I mean, we really are in many, many different services and many, many different businesses.
Thanks everyone for joining in and tuning in this week. Next week, we've got another really cool episode. I hope you enjoyed the sneak peek. I'm going to try to do this and see how this works. If you guys are interested, like the little sneak teasers, let me know. I'd love to hear back from all of you. And don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a review. And let me know if you know of another Canadian innovator that's doing something really cool around the world. Let's get them showcased. Or if there's an innovation trend that you would like to specifically focus on. Anyways, looking forward to hearing from all of you and talk to you next week. Cheers.